This is Driving Solutions, exclusively on CPTnews.com.
Hey everyone, I'm Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks for watching another edition of Driving Solutions exclusively right here at CPTnews.com. As we wrap up the third quarter of 2023, the landscape of auto sales, particularly trends in the EV market, is one of the many factors influencing the strategies of the industry players today. Despite the rise in EV adoption, the market could be reaching a saturation point. Imagine that. Beyond sales, inventory levels this quarter highlight the lingering effects of the pandemic, the potential of technology in streamlining processes, and the importance of market dynamics. As automotiveMastermind gears up for Q4, the company is focusing on tech integration, omni-channel marketing, digital retailing, and maximizing service drives. Aaron Baldwin, the Chief Product Officer, who you have seen here at CBT News before at automotiveMastermind, is here to tell us a little bit more about these things. So thanks so much for joining us, Aaron. Really appreciate it.
No problem, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So let's jump right in here. What's the state of automotive sales as we're coming in, or I should say coming out of Q3?
You know, as you alluded to, the adoption of electric vehicles continues to rise, even though we're starting to see it level off at this point. So as we look at that trend, there's more and more unsold EVs that are inside of the dealer's inventory. And you also have major EV manufacturer in Tesla that is continuing to drop prices.
Yeah.
So while there is more adoption, we are going to be challenged to see, a higher saturation rate. Anything north of 7% is going to be really challenging out there.
Sure.
But as we look at the internal combustion engines or ICE vehicles, they're still selling well. Auto sales are up 18% year over year if you look at August data.
Yeah.
And that's only about a 3% gain month over month from July. So while things are still healthy, we are seeing a little bit of slowing moving forward, and different economic conditions are also going to help drive that slowing in the market.
Sure, sure. What have inventory levels looked like in Q3, and what impacted them?
Yeah, you mentioned this earlier, but the pandemic-related supply chain disruptions are still a very real thing, even though they're beginning to ease. So the Q3 supply chain is much more positive than it has been. We are starting to see inventories, especially within certain manufacturers, begin to build. But there are a heavy amount of EVs in some of those inventories that are beginning to build. And one of the other factors that's been really helpful in determining what vehicles are needed out there on the ground is dealerships have been more open about sharing what their inventory levels are and what the demand's actually been at their stores, so that pipelines can be better predicted and manufacturing can be a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah, yeah. How has technology impacted inventory levels?
It's always evolving, right? With data analytics and AI, it's helping dealers predict their demand a bit better. And as they continue to predict their demand, that continues to move upstream into the production pipelines. So getting smarter, having better automated systems in place, better understanding what's coming down the pipeline within their market,
right,
is really helping get the right cars in inventory for dealers.
Yeah, sure. What are some of the major market dynamics and influences that you're paying attention to?
Great question. Consumer choices around eco-friendly vehicles. You're also seeing a lot of regulatory change around emissions that are helping to drive that as well. Understanding those customer vehicle preferences is absolutely critical for dealers in today's market. Those wants and needs advance and change. So understanding how that's moving is absolutely critical. And overall market share, we're seeing automakers realign their production strategies to cater to a growing demand for affordable and eco-friendly options. So we're continuing to see that play out. As I mentioned, regulations are continuing to have a major role in shaping vehicle sales trends, especially around those emission standards. And of course, one of the major things that we're keeping an eye on is, of course, the UAW strike and how long that continues and how that may have an impact in the global markets.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's it's amazing how it's like the 1-2 punch that just keeps hitting dealers, right?
It is.
I spoke to one dealer and he said, "I'm okay right now. Even if this thing lasts another few weeks, I'm still okay. But then I'm going to be a little bit more concerned if this thing goes into a couple of months," right?
That's exactly right. It's all
Yeah.
about the length of it and how quick they can get to a resolution.
Right, right. Well, we'll be Automotive Mastermind's focus in Q4 and leading into 2024 as you help dealers stay on the path to success.
Yeah. One of our core focuses is definitely around integrations and making sure that we're integrated with all of our data intelligence, all of our business insights, and all of our marketing data across the dealership's technology stack. Recently, we released our digital retailing API that is specific to helping dealers and digital retailers provide greater first pencil accuracy on digital retail. So as that consumer comes in, if it's somebody who's known to the dealership, we can help them understand, who is this customer? What are their buying preferences? How do they like to set up their deal so that when that first payment is actually delivered to them, it's much more relevant to that individual.
Right.
We're going to continue integrating into customer data platforms, continuing to strengthen our DMS partnerships, as well as looking at other areas where we can support the dealership and their core mission critical tech stack.
Yeah, yeah.
Omni-channel marketing is a big one as well. Just in our own data, we see that by using and leveraging direct mail instead of just email, there's a 71% increase in response rates. So we're going to continue to evolve that strategy by focusing on more channels of delivery. And so that'll be a critical focus of Automotive Mastermind this quarter and moving into next year. Additionally, as we talk about those integrations and as we talk about all these different data connections, developing our Mastermind API strategy that will allow dealers, dealer groups, anybody managing their own data sets to be able to access all of our intelligence and all of our business analytics inside of their own platforms, as well as have more open integrations to other companies as well. So we'll continue to evolve that strategy in this quarter as well as into next year to make sure that we can be a part of data intelligence throughout the dealership and throughout dealer groups. And last but not least is maximizing the service drive. As you know, as many dealers talk about, that's a very ripe area for dealers to continue to grow their business, not only in customer pay ROs and making sure they're taking care of their customers from a retention perspective, but also to help drive additional loyalty by farming those people who are in market in the drive to sell them a new vehicle.
Right.
So continuing to deploy technology, software, as well as marketing to help dealers really maximize the potential of their service drive.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's funny you mentioned that number of, where the interest rates are headed, that it might be a concern if it's, with interest rates up over 7%. But then, it's amazing how then you mentioned that car sales are actually up 14% over this time last year, right? It's almost like you can't slow these dealers down. They just keep selling cars. It's like, oh, high interest rates, no problem.
We're a very resilient industry, and dealers are very resilient and adapt to change. So that is for sure. Yeah,
and it also says, I think, speaks volumes about the consumers out there and their desire to always be driving a nice car, through all of this.
Absolutely. And I think one of the other things that you're seeing that's helping ease the interest rate side of things a little bit is now that supply is starting to come back, we're not seeing as many vehicles selling for over MSRP.
Right, right.
So that top line number coming down a little bit is helping to ease a little bit on the monthly payment side, but it is still the highest monthly payments we've seen historically.
Yeah, this affordability thing is getting out of hand. It's almost $50,000 for the price of a new car. It's just anybody's guess as to where this thing is going to end up. But and then leasing isn't back to where it was prior to COVID hitting. So, I think everyone's waiting on that too to say, come on, OEMs, you got to come out with the subvented programs and such to really offer a great lease program.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Aaron Baldwin, Chief Product Officer for Automotive Mastermind. Thank you so much for stopping by. I very much appreciate the update and the positivity as we go into 2024. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
No problem, Jim. Thanks so much. And for dealers that are out at Digital Dealer in Las Vegas on the 17th to the 19th, we'll be out there. So stop by the booth. Our team will be out there ready to talk through any of these topics and show you all the great things we're working on.
Fantastic. Are there any more events that you'll be attending this year in addition to Digital Dealer?
Just Digital Dealer right now.
Okay.
And we've got NADA right around the corner.
That's right. I know. It's amazing. Amazing. We will be at both events as well, so please stop by and say hello.
Absolutely.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching Driving Solutions, exclusively on CPTnews.com.